Now, we have 3 different key zones here, and when I play a note, I'm playing the sounds from all of these at once. Now, we can group key zones if we want to, which will give us the ability to adjust certain parameters of them all at once, and also a little bit of unique functionality as well. So before I do this, I want to bring in one more sample, more of a bass type thing. And this bass type thing is not going to be part of the group that I ultimately create. So let's see. There we go. So let's go ahead and just drag this in here. We're going to send about the same range. Do it like so. We see the root note is already set for C2. So it already works pretty well. I'm going to change the root note here to C3, so it'll play an octave lower. Nice. Now what I want to do is I want to take these first 3 and group these together, because these are essentially the top layer of my synth multi-sample that I'm making. I selected the bottom zone here, held shift, select the top one, all 3 of these are selected. If I right click here, I can group these. We see the shortcut is Command G. All right, with these grouped, I now see it says new group here. And if I click here, I can go into my inspector panel and change this. And I'm going to call this synth top layer. We'll just call it top layer. All right, I can give it a color if I want, blah, 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 blah. And we see when top layer is selected, I only see the key zones within that layer. If I go to ungrouped here, I can see this because this is the thing that's not grouped. This is all by itself, all lonely. If I go to all zones, I see them all together. Nice. Now I think I want to extend this bass one an octave lower. Sounds a little muddy. And it might be nice to make it so that these zones actually fade out as I get a little bit lower. So how about we extend this like so. So I think I like to fade this in as we get to the lower notes, or fade it out. So as I extend this, when we go over to the inspector panel over here, I see key, so that's the range of keys, and then I see fade. So I want to make it so that as we get to the lower notes, it starts to fade. As I adjust this, we can see over the range of, 6, 7 notes, it'll start to fade out or fade in volume depending on which direction I'm playing. So maybe we'll make this one, oops, not that one, this one, start to creep in as well. Extend that, go to my fade here, and this as well, and we'll fade that in, and then we'll kind of make these gradually fade out. So it'll be a bit more graceful as we're moving up and down the ranges here. And we'll make that fade out a bit as well. Okay. Nice. Now, if I go back to the top layer, our grouped layer, what are some things that I can do with this grouped layer? Well, I could adjust for the fade for all of these at once, and we're going to get to the velocity zones and select zones very soon. One very interesting thing that I can do here is utilize the zone logic. Now, the zone logic by default is set to always play, which means that every key in this grouped zone will play if I play a note that triggers those key zones. If I change this to round robin, however, it's going to basically play one of these and switch between them every time I trigger a note. Which is pretty cool. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the bass continues to play because that's not part of the group. So I can have the top layer doing a round robin thing while the bass continues to play underneath that. Very, very cool. I'm going to change this back to always play though, because I think I prefer that. If I want to change the root key of all of these at once, for instance, maybe I want all of these to be an octave lower. Let me change all of these to C3. And we see it doesn't change the root key for all of them to exactly C3. It changes them by a relative amount. So it was set to C2. It brings them all up an octave. Very, very nice. So that's one of the main benefits of grouping the key zones together, is that you have all of these parameters that you can affect on all of the groups at once. Let's go ahead and maybe reverse these as well. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm starting to like how this multi-sample patch is shaping up. But again, there's a lot more we can play around with, and we should start looking at the velocity zones and select zones next to see how we can take advantage of those.